Hey, welcome back, guys. Today's video, we're going to focus on solving problems from the data analysis section of the 7th grade STAAR test. It says a survey of 150 employees at a company are asked which type of transportation the employee uses to get to work. These types of transportation and some of their percentages are shown on the circle graph. What I want to remind you is that percentage is out of 100%. It says, how many more people use a car than ride a bicycle? If you notice, the bicycle percentage is not given to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to add up the percentages that are given to us, 38, 20, and 32. When you add all three of those, you ended up with 90%. So that will subtract that from 100, which will give you 10% for the bicycle. So it says, we want to find how many more people use a car than ride a bicycle. Well, the car is 38%, and we just figured out the bicycle is 10%. When you subtract those, you end up with 28%. So this question is trying to trick you because it's giving you 28 for B. If it was asking for the difference in percentage, well, B would be correct, but it's asking for what it represents. So I'm going to set up a proportion with 28% over 100%. And I know that 100% represents 150. I'm trying to figure out what 28% represents. So I can either go from 100% and scale down to get to 28%, or I can go from 100% to 150 and scale up. I don't want to do either because I don't want to deal with remainders. So what I will do is scale down 100 and then 150. Meaning I'm going to find a number that goes into both of them that won't leave a remainder. And I know 50 can go into both of them. If I scale down 100 by 50, or 100 divided by 50, I end up with 2. And then 150 divided by 50 will give me 3. Now I can easily go from 2 to 28. I know 2 scaled up by 14 will give me 28. And since I want equivalent ratios, I have to scale 3 by 14, which will give me 42. And if you notice, answer choice C is 42. All right, so let's do the next problem. It says, the dot plot shows the number of points a player scored in each of 30 turns in a game. Which statements are best supported by the data in the dot plot? Okay. So it's saying to select 2 answers. I think the only reason kids get this wrong is they don't select 2, or it's just too tedious and they don't feel like going through it. First thing I recommend or suggest is to set up fractions for each of them. So for 0, I know 30 is the total and there's 4 dots. So that means 4 out of 30 scored 0 points. And then I'll do the same process for the rest. I'm not saying this is what you have to do. Nobody wants to get one problem wrong just because they didn't feel like doing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there's 9 out of 30 for 2 points. Now I want to know the fraction of 3 would be 6 over 30. And then 4 points is 3 over 30. And then I ended up with 5, and that gives me 5 over 30. All right, so it says exactly 9% were 2 points. Okay, well, it's 9 out of 30, so I can definitely see how somebody would get this wrong. Well, percent is out of 100, so I could solve it. I know it's not it, but I just want to show you, so I'll scale them down by 3. I end up with 3 over 10. Now I want to get to 100%. And then how many 10s go into 100? Scale that by 10. Scale 3 by 10. Oh, sorry, I wrote 3. And it's a lot of times why I have to re-record videos. I make silly mistakes, which is what I just did right now. And so that's 30%. So we know that's not the correct answer. Exactly 1/6 were 5 points. Well, I'll go down to 5. I didn't simplify yet, but I will now. They both can be scaled down by 5, meaning that's the number that goes into both of them. And that's 1 over 6, and that's actually true. So that's one true statement, but we're looking for 2. exactly half were 3 or more. So I'm looking at 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 5 is 14. Well, half would be 15. So that's not an answer that we want to select. Exactly 1/10 of the turns or 1 point or fewer. So we're going to look at 3 plus 4, which would be 7 over 30. Well, that's not going to work. That's not true. 7 out of 30, not 1 out of 10. So that's not a correct answer. Now we're going to go to the last one. Exactly 50% of the turns were 2 or 3 points. So now I'm going to look at 9 plus 6. That's 15 over 30. So that is definitely correct, and we're going to select that as my second correct answer choice. So for the last one, I'm going to read it to you, but I challenge you to answer the question in the comments. A salesperson made a bar graph of different brands of cars sold in a month. Based on the information in the graph, which car brands represented 60% of the sales? So I recommend listing sort of a table and doing the fractions the way I did in the last problem. So it'd be 18 over and then whatever the total is, and then do each one and set up proportions. If you need refresher on percent, check out my other videos titled percent. All right, thanks for watching. If this video helped, don't forget to hit like or subscribe.